Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Historical Light's Nightly Chat and Toast. Glad to be here. Brother Alex Powers from Historical Light. We've got our co-host with us, Brother Robert Marshall down in Waco. How goes it, brother?
It goes Wacoing.
Well, there you go. How was your day down there today?
It was good. I got pretty sunburned, spent a lot of time outside. But I am extending my winding stairway to the roof. So we've got a rooftop deck that the guys will be able to come over and hang out after lodge. And worked with an entered apprentice who just got back from Louisiana. He and I had a really good long talk today about what kind of ancient knowledge there is or is not in Freemasonry, what value there is in trying to study ancient knowledge or what value there isn't, and how it can be applied in the life of a modern man. And so after we had studied the first, what we consider in Texas, the first and second sections of the Entered Apprentice Catechism, we did a pretty good deep dive on that stuff, including without giving anything away, in most catechisms or ceremonies, at some point, there's some kind of reference to a man being prepared for masonry in his heart, one way or another, which generally speaking is typically, I would bet 90+% of Masons in the world generally assume and take for granted to mean that, well, he's a good guy and he's got a good heart, and so he qualifies for Masonry. And it actually had a much more metaphysical and specific meaning in its original Masonic form than it does in that kind of general romantic assumption. And Brother John Iyer in Washington, D.C., as well as a few others, turned me on to looking into this. And if you just dig back into the 1723 Anderson's Constitutions, it really lays it out very plainly that when they expected an initiate to be prepared in his heart, they were referring to what at that time was a very deep and spiritual understanding of mankind and our human intellect and reason being an inherent and instinctual need to know and understand the world around us and the worlds around our world, which again in that time carried a lot of connotations, like regarding Copernicus's publications and later Isaac Newton and things like gravity and what have you. So there's a lot in just that little simple preparation in your heart, much more than we usually take for granted. So I had a good long talk with him and lost track of time discussing a lot of that kind of stuff, and got sunburned to a crisp. So that's what my day consisted of. How about yours?
My day, well, worked all day and then jumped on some yard work this evening. We put in a raised garden bed, and my wife thought the dogs would leave it alone, but we went out there this morning, and I mean, the dogs have been out there all like 10 minutes, and there's already a huge hole. So got that all fenced in today. But man, I really like to hear you addressing that, because that's honestly been a sore point of mine for like a long time. People just without even knowing anybody, just see that somebody has a blatant interest in Freemasonry. Oh, well, he'd make a good Mason. Get him a petition. Why? What do you know about him? You know, let's have a conversation here and actually see if he would make a good Mason. Just because he has a pulse, which has brought a lot of people into this fraternity, isn't always the best qualifier, you know. So no, it's a great point, and it's actually something I was working on that hopefully one day will work its way into a book. That was the original plans. It's just kind of turned into a back burner project over the time, but kind of evaluating how things were done as far as investigations, you know, back in the day versus today. The idea is there, but it rarely gets carried out in the manner that it should. I think in a lot of lodges today, even when we go through the investigations, they're kind of pointless. And I really think if we want to get masonry back to that caliber that we talk about, we need to look back at how they did it when they were serious about it, and really take that into consideration. So that's
We've
great to
been
hear that
trying
you're
to
doing.
we've been trying to do exactly that at my lodge. We looked back into our records and found in the 1850s, 1860s what kind of expectations there were, and we have uh, reinstilled some of those. For example, you have to know all the men who sign your petition have to know you 6 months.
Mm,
Uh, uh, you have to visit the lodge consistently for at least 3 months, including attending all of our socials. We have a monthly social, and sometimes happens more than monthly at a local coffee shop and bar. Um, we have a class partially based on Austin 12's Masonry 101, but also partially based on uh, some of those pamphlets that I've read on these toasts,
yeah.
uh, and it's actually based on a number of different things, but ultimately what it is these guys are expected every week to come in and sit down with one of the teachers and go over expectations for what masonry is, what kind of expectations masonry would have of them. And then it actually deep dives into some of the philosophy that does exist in Freemasonry, or that Freemasonry engages through its various degrees and orders and appendant bodies, so that they know even before they are allowed to turn in a petition, because we won't accept a petition without hitting certain markers. Uh, they'll know whether or not there is something there for them, instead of getting in, getting initiated, and then looking around, I don't want to be a part of this. Since we've done that, our attendance and retention rates have skyrocketed. Uh, we are really seeing fruits of it. So
Yeah.
I think there's something to it.
I think there's definitely something to be said there when people see that value, but like that it has to be earned in a way. When it's just like doors wide open, come on in, it's whatever. It kind of loses its luster almost instantly. You get excited, like, oh, I get in. Well, now I'm in. That was free and pointless. When you've got to prove yourself a bit and earn that spot, um, I think there's value given back to it, respect given back to it, and I think for that very reason is why we see so many guys get their degrees, and just never show up again. And
Yep.
there's so much we can learn from history, man. I think that's one of the biggest reasons I've just became a big history nerd over it for so many
Yeah.
years.
Same here.
Well, we got on a little bit late this evening, a few minutes. Technology issues, as always, with Historical Light. History and technology, does it go together? We're trying to make it work. But I want to give a big shout out to Zoom/Facebook, because every time we've had this issue in the past, you guys have seen me come on the cell phone and try to show the cell phone to the computer to have Robert on, because if the little black spinning screen of death comes on, I call it, for more than like 5 seconds, it ain't happening. Just forget about it. But today we tried a second time and it actually worked. So I was thrilled over that, be able to get on here and make it work for once. So we're going to move to our toast here in just a second, but we had a few comments in here. Most Worshipful Kellerman, who we had on last night, big deal Kellerman, he says, road trip from Kansas to Waco. We're going to make that happen, Kellerman. You got to come with us. Let's do it. And then Brother Maddox in here saying, dogs just want to have fun. Yeah. Yeah, my wife didn't think so. We had a big hole in the tomato plant, so. But hopefully we got that fixed now, so we'll see. Well, let's see. We are at 9:01. Brother Marshall, you care to give our toast this evening? I can't remember if you gave it last night or not, but go for it.
It's 9 o'clock, so brethren everywhere, ladies of the craft, if you're watching, if you'll raise your glasses, and tonight we remember all the brethren who we cannot be with because of COVID-19. We miss all you guys. We miss you ladies and all the families, even the kids and Masons out there that we're used to seeing on a regular basis. It is one big family, and we're missing all of you people out there. So to everyone.
To everyone, cheers. And that is a great point, man. So my lodge over the last year or so now, we've actually rebranded our lodge motto to being a lodge of family. And we've really pushed for that family aspect with the family dinners. We started planning some, weekend events, picnics at the park, stuff like that. Current master had a bunch of plans this year. Obviously, those got kind of kicked in the pants there. But he was wanting to do, some camping stuff, some fishing with the kids and everything. And I think it goes a huge way to have families involved. I mean, obviously they can't go into the lodge meetings, and that's where most people are just like, well, there's no place in or in masonry for your wives or your families because, well, the meetings are men only. But masonry goes way beyond those 2 hours, hour and a half, whatever your lodge commits to for a meeting night. Masonry is a part of your life, and I think we need to address that. And if you can bring your family aspect in it, and introduce or kind of couple those two, it makes it really powerful, in my opinion. Have you experienced that with your lodge?
Oh yeah, I've taken some of my lodge members' kids to school when their parents were both working and were in a bind and weren't able to take care of it. I've been, as secretary, I've been called for all kinds of things like that, and just as a friend to some of the members. I've changed the flat tires on brothers' wives' cars while the brothers were out of town. Heck, I remember just a couple of years ago with Hurricane Harvey, a big hurricane that hit Houston and was flooding the whole city. And a member
Yeah.
of the lodge, he was in Boston, and his wife and newborn baby were stuck on a third floor apartment in Houston. And so he was seeking help and reached out. And so then I posted in the Texas Freemasons Facebook group. And within about 15 minutes, a helicopter was landing to pick up his wife and baby and get them out of there.
How awesome is that?
Family is important in Freemasonry, and I've seen it proved time and time again.
100%, man. 100%. Well, for all of you out there that we consider our historical life family, all this talk was just as much about you as well as trying to invoke that into your individual lodges as well. We appreciate every single one of you guys, and really, really appreciate all of you that have joined with us throughout these terms. As we know, we're probably coming to an end here within days. Keep in mind that Historical Light will continue our mission in our normal manners with episodes. We'll keep these lives up in not lies. Keep these lives up in one manner or another, not nightly, but check us out at historicallight.com. Hope you guys check out the other episodes and continue to take this journey with us through educating on Masonic history. So until then, though, we'll be back tomorrow night with another one.
Hey,
so check us out.
I haven't even gotten to share a historical item yet.
Well, I thought our chat was the historical item because we got to like 9 o'clock on it. What do you want to share?
Well, I've got a little something. I've got a pair of items here. Many folks know that Mozart was a Freemason. He was a member of a lodge in Vienna. This is a book about his Masonic influence in specifically the production of the Magic Flute, which is an entirely Masonic opera. And it deals with things like Egyptian symbolism in Freemasonry, women Masons, magic, all kinds of things. It really hits on a lot of things that are even controversial or interesting subjects in today's Freemasonry for various reasons. And it also displays a lot of the more mainstream and widely accepted symbols of the craft. But I also have this production poster, which I usually have on
Oh,
display.
nice.
When I was a kid, my you were talking about getting family involved in Freemasonry.
Indeed.
When I was a kid, my great grandfather took me to see. See if I can get this to show up. Yeah, I think it's showing okay.
Yeah, we can see it good.
Took me to see the Magic Flute in Houston, and at the Houston Opera. This is signed by that production's producer, Maurice Sendak. It's signed right there.
Oh,
And of course,
nice.
Maurice is the famous children's book author who wrote Where the Wild Things Are and many other children's books. So this is something I cherish, and it was a production of the Magic Flute.
Yeah, that's fantastic, man. What was the name of that book? I've been really interested in the Magic Flute production, but I haven't read that individual book before.
The Magic Flute Unveiled. It was written by
Okay.
Jacques Chaillet, which he was not a Mason. He was a music expert, a musicologist in France, which makes it interesting because he's studying specifically the Masonic influence on the opera, even though he's not a Mason. So he brings a really interesting perspective. And on this poster, you'll see you've got 3 Masons there with their aprons tucked up. You have a variety of symbolism on here that actually refers to Masonry.
Oh, yeah. And it carries widely through as well. I mean, for everyone that is Masons out there, if you watch that production, there's quite a few points in there. You're like, whoa, holy crap.
Well, it's interesting because it depends on the production. Some versions of the Magic Flute, you have the production designers who want to purposely downplay the Masonic elements. And so you can sit through some productions and, well, where the hell did it go? What that book does a really good job of is showing all of the original Masonic symbolism and intention that Mozart put into it.
Fantastic. Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that, man. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. I just I figured our chat had covered that, but that's fantastic. Well, guys, with that, we are at 10 past. So we won't keep you too much longer, but do check us out tomorrow. We'll be right back here tomorrow night, 8:45 Central Standard Time with another bit of history, and of course, some more conversation with our brothers. So until then, guys, be well, stay safe, take time to save history. We will see you tomorrow. Cheers.